Hello and welcome to Freya's tropical garden. Now I'm going to need your help because in the next few months we're going to be making some changes to this channel. I've got a new project that I want to spend some time working on, so I'm going to be stopping the monthly episodes as of next year when season 4 starts in January. So please, can you leave comments below letting me know which parts of these videos you enjoy the most so that I can make sure I keep the content that matters to you the most, as well as making some suggestions for future improvements. Now here's what we've got coming up for you in today's episode. We take a closer look at the tropical zone in Kew's Princess of Wales glasshouse. I visit RHS Wisley for their Fern and Carnivorous plant fair. There's my new competition to win a Dracaena plant, as well as the draw for my last competition. But first, here's what's changed in my garden since the last episode. August has been another month of more hot, dry weather, but with some occasional downpours, which the garden has really needed. Now the garden feels alive, and the small section that I have left still planted in the ground is full of lush green foliage and vibrant flowers. The cannas are leading the charge this month. Canna Tropicanna Gold is producing several blooms of orange flowers and is looking better than it ever has. Canna Robert Kemp is a greenleaf variety with orangey red flowers, which I bought in honour of my great-grandfather, whose name was Robert Kemp. My towering 5-foot canna is now also producing orange flowers, while the spectacular Canna Cleopatra's variegation is especially striking in contrast to its yellow and red flowers. They've brought a tropical exuberance to the garden that feels almost theatrical. Lobelia Queen Victoria is flowering well too. Its bright red flowers and maroon foliage adds a burst of colour in a garden where there is so much green. Amaryllis Carmen has been flowering well this month with its lovely dark red flowers that have mostly avoided the slug damage suffered by the Amaryllis Susan last month. I grew this Cleome from seed this year. It's an annual, but it's an easy to grow plant that adds a lovely splash of colour at this time of year. And this white one is a new variety for me this year. Crocosmia Columbus is now flowering, and as I mentioned last month, it's the first time that this variety has flowered for me. Its paler orange flowers are really attractive and great for attracting pollinators. My Magnolia Soulangeana has also produced a late flower, and Cautleya Spicata has been producing several more flowers after its initial flower emerged earlier this year. With its deep red bracts and yellow flowers, it's particularly attractive, and this is the best it has ever done. My tree spinach has shot up dramatically. This can grow 2 meters tall, and I love the attractive pink-tinged foliage. Tree spinach is edible, and young leaves can be eaten raw in salads, or larger leaves can be cooked. It's an annual, but if allowed to go to seed, it will often self-seed easily, much like the Ricinus communis, which I grow as an annual for its fast-growing added height, although you should definitely not attempt to eat this toxic plant. Unfortunately, I planted mine in the ground a little too late this year for it to get to its full potential. My Melianthus major, or the giant honeyflower, is doing well, and I've spotted a new plant emerging nearby, likely from an underground rhizome. It's always satisfying when a plant decides to replicate itself without prompting. I'm also growing a new type of Melianthus called Melianthus camosus, which I grew from seed earlier this year. This is a smaller and more compact variety of Melianthus. My Gunnera tinctoria is a very thirsty plant which has needed a daily drenching given the lack of rain this year, and underneath it my Gunnera Cilipiana is growing well too, with its beautifully veined leaves. My Colocasia pink china have been slow growing this year, but now they're finally starting to fill their usual space. I think as the gunnera has grown, it's sucking the water from the area more, making it harder for the other thirsty plants like this one. My tetrapanic steroidal giant is growing well since I potted it up earlier in the year and separated the pups. Already there is a flurry of new pups growing around the base. Mine is contained in a pot for now, but if you intend to put this plant in the ground, you should be aware that it can produce a lot of pups, and I've even heard tales of the runners growing under a house and producing pups on the other side. And then there's the Olea europea, my olive tree. After being dug up and leafless for over a year, it's been recovering nicely in the last 2 months. New leaves are finally bringing back its lush green colour, and it's looking far healthier. I've even been able to successfully root a few of the cuttings from its fresh new growth. I've added a few new plants this month, each bringing something distinct to the garden. This Brugmansia I got from the big plant nursery, and it's already flowering with lovely yellow trumpet blooms that hang dramatically. But just be careful when handling, as this is a toxic plant. Pseudopanax crucifoleus has also joined my collection with its unusual juvenile foliage that looks almost prehistoric. If you're thinking it looks dead, this is its defense mechanism to stop animals eating its young leaves. I've also bought 2 ferns from Burncoos nurseries. Adiantum pedatum is a maidenhair fern with leaves similar in shape to my ginkgo tree, while the Woodwardia, commonly known as the giant chain fern, I have bought for its eventual large size, reaching up to 2 meters. Last year, I dug up and potted several of my palm trees in preparation for moving house. They've been adjusting to container life since then, and while they're not growing quite as vigorously as they were in the ground, they're holding up well. These include Camarops humilis, or the European fan palm, and the Camarops humilis argentea, which is the blue-leaved variety, the hardy Trachycarpus fortunei, and Trachycarpus wagneranus, which is the more compact variety with stiffer leaves, Trachycarpus princeps with the bluish underside to the leaf, Phoenix canariensis, or the Canary Island date palm, and my last remaining Washingtonia robusta from the seeds I grew around 7 years ago. And finally, my Brahia amata, or the Mexican blue palm. My Butia odorata seedling, which I germinated 2 years ago, is growing steadily, and this year I've had success germinating several new varieties, including some Phoenix canariensis and Phoenix theophrastia, which is also hardy in milder areas of the UK with protection. I have some young Trachycarpus fortunei, Urcralensis, and Tachyle, which are all quite hardy in the UK. Serenoa repens is another small shrub-like palm that can grow in the UK. Sable bermudana and Sable palmetto are both hardy in the UK, while Washingtonia robusta and Washingtonia filifera can survive in the milder areas of the UK, but they are quite fast growing, which can be an added bonus, especially if you're starting your tropical garden and want small plants that will grow fast. Let me know in the comments how your own garden's faring, and I'll be back next month for the September update. In the meantime, if you're new to tropical gardening as we head into September, you may be starting to worry about when to bring tender plants indoors. Don't rush to bring things in too soon, as this can usually wait until late October or even early November. I will be providing overwintering advice nearer the time, or you can check out my previous videos, which I have put links to in the description. Coming up next, it's competition time, and we've got this month's competition as well as the draw for last month's competition. Hibiscus syriacus is a deciduous shrub also known as Rose of Sharon and flowers from July to September with trumpet-shaped flowers in shades of white, pink, blue or purple. In last month's competition, I announced I was giving away one of my Hibiscus syriacus, and now it's time to do the draw for that competition. I received 5 entries into the competition, which I put into the wheel of names. Good luck to everybody who entered. And the winner is GC4434. Congratulations, you've won a hibiscus plant. Please can you email me at freyastropicalgarden@gmail.com. Thank you to everybody who entered, and don't forget to keep your eye out for my new competition coming up next. Dracaena is a popular houseplant because it's easy to care for and looks great. It grows well in bright, indirect light, but can handle low light conditions too. Water it only when the top inch of soil feels dry. Too much water can cause root rot, but it can tolerate being dry for long periods. Its leaves can help purify the air by removing chemicals. Just wipe them now and again to keep them shiny and healthy. This slow-growing, low-fuss plant is perfect for beginners. I have one Dracaena marginata to give away in this month's competition. So if you want to be in with a chance of winning this really easy to look after plant, the competition is free to enter. Simply comment "I live in the UK" below. The competition closes on the 19th of September and the draw will take place in episode 9 of Freya's Tropical Garden. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the draw. Good luck to everyone who enters. Coming up next is the continuation of my series on Kew Gardens, where we're going to take a closer look at the tropical zone of the Princess of Wales glasshouse. Nestled in the heart of London, Kew Gardens spans over 300 acres and houses the world's largest and most diverse botanical collection. Amongst its treasures is the Princess of Wales Conservatory, opened in 1987 by Princess Diana and named in honour of Princess Augusta, who founded Kew in the 18th century. This architectural marvel contains 10 climate-controlled zones, but the tropical zone is its leafy, steamy heart. Temperatures hover around 27 degrees C, with humidity above 80%, mimicking equatorial rainforests. Here you'll find towering banana plants, papayas, and the dramatic Heliconia rostrata, known for its lobster claw flowers. The zone also showcases rare orchids, carnivorous plants, and giant water lilies. It's not just a display, it's a window into the ingenuity of nature. Aechmea serrata, commonly called the silver vase plant, originates from the Brazilian Atlantic rainforest. Its serrated leaves form a sculptural rosette that holds water, while vibrant pink flower spikes bloom in the centre. For care, give bright, indirect light, keep the cup filled, and water sparingly into well-draining mix. Nymphaea thermamum, the miniature Rwandan water lily, is the world's smallest water lily, with tiny white flowers with yellow centres. It grows in Mashusa's thermal spring mud. Cultivate in damp loam at the water's edge under bright, indirect light, keeping water just 1 centimetre deep at around 25 degrees C for healthy growth and flowering. Victoria boliviana, the Bolivian water lily, is now the world's largest water lily, floating 3.2 metre wide pads fringed with prickles and nightly white to pink blooms. Grow it in a warm, sheltered pond with 20 to 50 centimetres of loamy substrate under warm, nutrient-rich water. Feed regularly and allow ample room for its giant leaves. Dieffenbachia seguine, or dumb cane, hails from tropical America, with cane-like stems and variegated paddle leaves. Position in bright, indirect light, water to keep the potting mix lightly moist, maintain humidity and propagate easily via stem cuttings. Just wear gloves as the sap is toxic. Anthurium hookeri, the bird's nest anthurium, from Central American rainforests, forms a nest-like rosette of 35 to 90 centimetres, wrinkled green leaves and small white berries at its centre. To care for it, give bright indirect light, high humidity and loose well-draining mix. Keep evenly moist with monthly balanced feeding. Costus louisii, the Gabon costus from West African swamp forests, can grow canes up to 2.5 metres tall, bearing dark green leaves and compact blooms of white petals, striped pink and yellow. It makes a great houseplant grown in rich, moist, well-draining soil, indirect bright light, high humidity and water regularly. Amorphophallus titanum is known as the corpse flower and is native to Sumatran rainforests, producing one of the largest flowers in the world at 3 metres tall and unleashing a rotting flesh scent. Due to both the size and smell, it's not an ideal houseplant and needs both warmth and humidity. Etlingera elatea, or the torch ginger, is from Southeast Asian tropics. It can grow up to 4 metres tall, with banana-like leaves and 25 centimetre flower, which can be red, pink or white. It requires plenty of continuous warmth and humidity, but if grown as a houseplant it will not flower, so it's better suited to a warm, humid greenhouse. Nidularium innocentii, often called the innocent's nest bromeliad, originates from Brazil. It features glossy dark green leaves forming a neat nest and a flattering red flower head at the centre. It prefers bright indirect light and maintain high humidity with occasional misting. Thaumatococcus danielii, the miracle berry from West African rainforests, shows large banana-like leaves, pale purple flower spikes and red fruits. Cultivate in warm, humid semi-shade, keep soil evenly moist and multiply by dividing its underground rhizomes. Victoria amazonica, the Amazonian giant water lily, is from the Amazon basin and bears a 3-metre wide pad with upturned rims and spiny undersides, opening scented white flowers that blush pink at dusk. To grow it, sink the rhizome in rich loam beneath 30 to 50 centimetres of warm water in full sun. Feed monthly and clear debris. Medinilla magnifica, the rose grape from the Philippines, forms an evergreen shrub with leathery veined leaves to 30 centimetres and gorgeous large pink flowers hanging down. To cultivate it, use bright filtered light, maintain high humidity, water evenly through spring and summer, cut back in winter and feed monthly. Strongylodon macrobotris is commonly known as the jade vine and is native to the Philippines. It's a climber that produces these stunning turquoise claw-shaped flowers. Grow it in a warm conservatory or greenhouse, on loam-based compost and water freely during the growing season. Musa acuminata lacatan, the lacatan banana from the Philippines, can grow up to 9 metres tall with paddle-shaped leaves and bunches of sweet yellow-orange fruit. Grow in full sun in well-drained soil, keeping soil evenly moist, feed monthly with high potassium fertilizer and provide shelter from frost. Nelumbo nucifera Komarovii, the hardy sacred lotus from Russia's Amur region, bears pink-flowered pads rising above 30 centimetres of water. Grow it in full sun over rich loam, maintain 30 to 50 centimetres of water depth, feed monthly and enjoy blooms even in colder UK climates. Philodendron auriculatum, the banana philodendron from Central and South American rainforests in the Caribbean, produces large, glossy, heart-shaped leaves with ear-like bases, or climbing stems. To grow it, give bright, indirect light, water when the top 2 inches is dry, and use well-draining peat perlite mix and keep the humidity above 60%. Calliandra imaginata is known as the pink powder puff and is native to Mexico, Panama, and Bolivia. It is a dwarf evergreen shrub that produces clusters of pink powder puff blooms. In the UK, this can be grown in a pot and brought indoors for winter, placed in a bright spot with free draining soil, and take care not to overwater. Musa velutina, or the pink hairy banana from Assam and the eastern Himalayas, forms clumps of paddle leaves around 2 meters tall, topped by pink flower bracts and fuzzy 8 centimeter fruits. Plant in full sun to partial shade in moist, well-draining soil and water freely in the warm months. Protect it if temperatures drop below -5 degrees C. Hymenocallis litoralis, the beach spider lily from Latin American coasts, sends up glossy, strappy foliage and fragrant white spider-like flowers. Grow in full sun to part shade in moist, organically rich, well-drained soil. Fertilize weekly through summer and lift or protect bulbs from frost in winter. Cyprus papyrus, the iconic papyrus sedge of African wetlands, forms tall, triangular stems topped with thread-like green umbels. Plant in boggy soil or pond margins in full sun or light shade. Keep soil consistently moist. Cut back in autumn and overwinter under cover. Tapenoculus ananasi, or torch ginger, hails from New Guinea. Its erect semi-wooden stems reach around 2 meters, with spiraled leaves and bright red bracts enclosing yellow flowers. To grow it, plant rhizomes in moist, well-drained soil in bright, indirect light and high humidity. Alcantaria regina, the queen bromeliad, hails from the highlands of Brazil. It forms vast rosettes of arching silver-green leaves, sometimes exceeding 1 meter in length, and bears coral red flower spikes. It prefers bright light or morning sun, and top up the central cup with fresh water and repot into a well-draining mix every year. Aristolochia trilobata, known as Dutchman's pipe, is a climbing vine from South America. It bears 3-lobed dark green leaves and solitary green-brown spotted flowers with a curved tail. Cultivate in moist, fertile soil, give bright indirect light, and provide a trellis and water evenly. Next up, I took a trip to RHS Wisley for their Fern and Carnivorous plant fair. I visited Hilltop at RHS Wisley for the 2025 Fern and Carnivorous Plant Fair. The event brings together the UK's leading experts, societies and growers for a weekend of botanical insight. Visitors can explore stalls from the British Pteridological Society, the Exotic Fern Group, and the Carnivorous Plant Society, offering a glimpse at rare species, providing cultivation advice and propagation techniques. There are live talks providing expert information on growing both ferns and carnivorous plants, as well as hands-on activities for younger visitors to engage with prehistoric plant forms by making their very own fern fossils. Guided tours offer expert access to the key plants that can be viewed around the garden, as well as in the glasshouse. Whether you're interested in expanding your fern or carnivorous plant collection, want to improve your growing skills, or are simply looking for a fun day out for the family, the fair delivers an enjoyable day out filled with practical knowledge and inspiration rooted in decades of horticultural expertise. I spoke with Matthew Reeve from the Exotic Fern Group to find out a bit more about the society and the ferns that he grows.
I'm Matthew Reeve and I'm one of the co-leaders of the Exotic Fern Group. The Exotic Fern Group is a UK-based plant society which is interested in non-native ferns. That's generally ferns which grow in glass houses, ferns which you can use as houseplants, and exotic looking ferns in the garden as well. And we've got members in the UK and we've got members from all over the world. It's free to join. All you need to do is go to exoticferngroup.org on the internet and you can subscribe there, and you'll get a newsletter once every few months, and you'll get invites to talks, online presentations, and also face-to-face meetings. We do a monthly chat as well, so our members can connect and share their ferning exploits. So this selection of ferns here is typically ferns you might find in the garden centre, which are sold as houseplants. And probably one of the common ones you'll often find is the maidenhair fern, which most people, it's their first fern they try, but tends to be one of the harder ferns to actually keep. Just because it needs such consistent conditions, both in watering and also in temperature. So in the home, that can be a trickier, especially if you've got radiators or conditions are changing throughout the seasons, it can be a little bit tricky as a houseplant. But we find if you have very consistent watering regime, keep it away from radiators and give it some decent light without it being too direct, then you can have good success. One thing people often don't know about maidenhair ferns is that if they really like them, then there is actually plenty of maidenhairs which grow well in the garden as well. So you've got a few species which do very well as garden plants and exceptionally hardy. So if you're not having luck with the maidenhair in the home, then look at some of the Himalayan species which actually will do really well in the garden. We've got a selection here of Boston ferns, and these actually form part of our logo for the Exotic Fern Group. These are really good houseplants. One of the issues people find is that they tend to, as the fronds die, they will drop the little pinnules, the little leaflets, and that's absolutely normal. So it's just a matter of keeping on top of that. But if there's new fronds growing, the fern is perfectly healthy. So if you don't like that drop though, then a good fern to look at is the phlebodiums, which are naturally epiphytic ferns, so that means they grow on trees, and they have very thick rhizomes. You see the rhizomes there? And those rhizomes will store water, which means that they can get away with being a little bit less consistent with the watering, so they can easily recover if there's a shortage of water. So we've got various aquatic ferns on display today as well, and you can get any of these aquatic ferns from aquarium shops, quite easy to get hold of. One is often called the Java fern, which is Microsorum terapus. The actual correct botanical name now is Leptochilus terapus. And these ferns will grow in warm to tropical conditions underwater. They'll also all grow above water as well, but you'd need to have a terrarium, which is very high humidity environment. So an example of this is a very similar fern here growing in a jar. It's got a very high humidity environment in there. Seeing some floating ferns here. And this is Salvinia oblongifolia, which is the largest Salvinia. This will actually even get nearly to 2 inches long, and the smallest Salvinia is Salvinia minima, which is on the surface there as well. And these ferns actually have specialized fronds, so one frond will actually float on the surface, and then what look like roots underneath are actually specialized fronds which act like roots, and they go under the water. This is a terrarium, And this has a higher humidity, so this is good for smaller ferns and ferns which like high humidity environments. It's important that your terrarium has a light, because often people think of them as being very shady plants, but they still need sunlight, especially in a dark corner of the house. In these jars, we've got some filmy ferns, and these are very delicate ferns. Basically, the fronds are about 1 cell thick. Again, need super high humidity environments.
There are several hardy ferns growing around the grounds of Wisley, such as Polystichum polyblepharum, which is an evergreen fern which can grow up to 1 metre in height, with erect fronds covered in golden hair-like scales. It tolerates most soil types, full or part shade, and is completely hardy in the UK. Tom Bellamy from the Exotic Fern Group took the time to speak to me about his passion for growing staghorn ferns.
My name's Tom, I'm from Windsor, and what I've done is I've set up a collection of Platycerium. It started some years ago when I was living in Australia, and then I came back to the UK, went out to go and find some Platycerium and found that there was pretty much none available in the UK. The only variety you could get was called Platycerium bifurcatum. And from there, I sort of went looking further afield and found that there was quite a big market in Asia. So through really a little bit of trial and error, I found nurseries that were willing to supply plants to the UK. It's important they come with a phytosanitary certificate, and everything is sort of DEFRA checked when it arrives. And then I really just started growing from there, and I started with a relatively small number, and through the production of spore, I then started cultivating that spore myself to be able to grow some of the specimens that you've got here. This is just a very small little snippet of what I've got back at home. So for example, up here, this is Platycerium coronarium, and these come from Indonesia. So what I've managed to do is collect some of the spore from plants such as this. And then if you come down to here, this is some spore I've laid in. This is essentially soil. But what I try to use is black peat compost, which I then sterilise. So you sterilise the soil in the microwave, or you can cook it in the oven. And then you basically very lightly sow the spore over the surface. It takes a long time. It takes about 6 months to grow a little plant the size of your little fingernail. And from there, they just progress to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I pot them up, and then some of them I sell, other ones I rear on.
Wisley is a great place to visit if you want to see examples of tender tropical ferns. One of the tropical ferns you can find growing in the glasshouse is Asplenium bulbiferum, or the hen and chicken fern, due to the small plantlets that grow on the upper surface of its fronds, each one capable of forming a new plant. This makes a popular houseplant requiring indirect light, high humidity, and consistent moisture. I spoke to Dennis Balston from the Carnivorous Plant Society to find out more about joining the society, as well as tips for growing these fascinating plants.
Hi, my name is Dennis Balston. I'm the past chair of the Carnivorous Plant Society. The society was formed in 1978, so we're coming up to our 50th anniversary shortly. And so the aim of the society is to promote the growing of carnivorous plants to protect their natural habitats and protect species. So we do talks for garden clubs, horticultural societies. We do shows like this one. We've done Chelsea in the past, and we have open days at people's gardens. You can join the society online from our website at www.cps.org.uk. Costs £20 a year. 35 years ago, Carol, my wife, just said on the radio there was a Specialist Plant Society show and sale at Tiverton in Devon, where we live. Let's go to that. So I went to that, and I was interested in alpines at the time, and I bought a few. And I saw this odd flower at the back of somebody's stand, and I bought it, didn't know what it was, cost me £4. Took it home, looked it up, and found this plant was carnivorous. So then you go to the library, get a book on the subject, and then you find that there is a society, so you join the society. And after a few years, you join the committee, and then the chair has a stroke, and on the basis that nobody else wanted to do it, I became chair, where I got to meet David Attenborough, who is a patron of the International Carnivorous Plant Society. So, then your collection grows and grows and grows, and you end up with 3 or 4 greenhouses, and that's how it goes. North American pitcher plants. There are 9 species, some subspecies, natural forms, man-made hybrids, man-made different varieties. So they're totally hardy. You don't need to feed them because they feed themselves. They're bog plants, so you need to stand them in water all the time. They need a cold winter dormancy, so you can have them in your house over the summer and a very sunny windowsill if you like. In the winter they need to go outside, so they go dormant. And for most of them, in about February, you cut all the top growth off, all of it. It will then produce new pitchers and flower. Very easy. That's a new one called Zip. Don't buy it on eBay because they go for about 30, 40, 50 pounds on eBay. They're in garden centres now. There's some garden centres will sell you one for a tenner.
In the glass house at Wisley, you can see a lovely tropical species of carnivorous plant called Nepenthes ventricosa, which is a pitcher plant native to the Philippines. It's known for its ease of cultivation and attractive traps. It grows best as a houseplant, with bright indirect light, high humidity, nutrient-poor soil, and distilled or rainwater. Although I didn't speak to anyone from the British Pteridological Society on this occasion, you can find my previous interview in my video on the Gardeners' World Spring Fair. The link is in the description. If you're interested in finding out more about growing carnivorous plants, then my interview with Matt Soper is also in the description. To find out more about growing tree ferns, check out my recent video, for which the link is in the description. And finally, if you'd like to learn more about the temperate and tropical ferns that you can find in Kew Gardens, the link to this video is also in the description. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Freya's Tropical Garden. Please don't forget to leave your comments below, and I'll see you next time on Freya's Tropical Garden. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram or X for video updates as well as my flower of the day. And you can email me at freyastropicalgarden@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out my website at freyastropicalgarden.co.uk, where you can find a range of information including public gardens that I've visited and information on plants that have been shown on my videos. I've had so much fun making this video, but if you'd like to make a contribution towards running costs, you can do so via PayPal.